Hey guys, how you doing? As you can see, I'm not at home right now. We're at the Blue Archive Karaoke Manekineko Collab, all the way in Osaka. Yes, that's right, I did come all the way down just for this. Now, I get what some of you might be thinking already, like, Mr. Sari, man, don't you live in Tokyo? Isn't it really far for you to be going all the way down to Osaka just for the collab? And yes, you're right. And yes, it was very expensive, but shall we come back for that? But either way, since we're here already, let's just make the best of it, right? So at this point, I've pretty much gone to all of the pop-up stores and collabs that were highlighted during the 3rd anniversary Blue Archive Fest that was supposed to run in the period after the event had ended. And I'm good to say that compared to last year with the whole scavenger hunt and all, this year it just felt a little more meh. I mean, to be fair, they probably put most of the budget into the 3rd anniversary fest itself because when you compare the festival itself, right, the 3rd anniversary event that they had for the celebration itself, this year it was a lot bigger, both in terms of the physical scale, as well as in terms of all the displays that were there, as well as the fact that they expanded from just 1 day to 2 days on top of it. So it's a long way that it has come and it has become a lot more massive than the small event that took place in a single or 2 floors of a small building in Akiba last year. So I get that most of the budget went there instead. But at the same time, while it was a lot smaller in scale the stuff that happened after the fest, it wasn't bad overall and I did enjoy it quite a fair bit. So you can split the stuff that happened during this entire period into 4, or I guess maybe 4.5 different parts instead. You had the Atre pop-up store, the Animate one as well, the Animate Cafe, which is different from the Animate pop-up store, as well as the Manekineko Collab karaoke, which is what we're in right now. There's also a 0.5 for the Akiba Revitalisation campaign, since that was also going on during this period. But compared to last year, the scavenger hunt and all was a lot smaller in scale, which is why I decided to leave it as a 0.5 instead of as a full event on its own. First off, let's start with Atre Collab. Although with this one, I guess you could split it into its own 2 parts as well, due to the fact that you did have the pop-up store that was ongoing, but aside from that, you did have all of the other stuff that's happening in Atre for the campaign that was also ongoing. And while they were linked, since the pop-up store and the campaign ran from the same period, what you got from the campaign was completely independent of what you got from the pop-up store. And so I guess we can talk about both slightly separately as well. But yeah, this was the one that was themed with the whole prefect team Valentine's thing. You guys probably saw the one with Akko still having her side boobs undisrupted and all. And so during the period, the entire mall for Atre from the outside was actually pretty much just decorated completely with Blue Archive stuff, ranging from the big glass windows outside along the main street, as well as the one on the UDX building side, all being decorated with the huge dioramas with all the different characters on it. And aside from that, all of the entrances as well, the glass panels along the sides and the top, all had different decorations as well. One with the prefect theme, the other with Arona and Plana, if I recall. Basically, you had the entire mall, which is basically connected to the central station of Akihabara. So anyone who walked into Akihabara from Akihabara station was pretty much guaranteed to see most of these decorations up. Now granted, during the 2nd anniversary, they did have something similar as well, all the decorations are Atre, since there was a pop-up store during that period as well. But I don't know, there's just something different about seeing all of this up again this year as well as due to the fact that now with all the new characters as well, all of that was added in, so you do get a lot more variety in terms of the characters that were being displayed on these decorations as well. One thing that I did notice this year was that while you're walking through the mall, they did have audio tracks playing of just the characters talking to each other and commenting about the mall and all the stuff like that. I don't know if I mentioned it in the previous video. I feel like even if I did, I would probably not remember it too well, since it was something that was just pretty cool in the background, but not something very massive. But this year they did have something like that, and I did find that pretty interesting. Now granted, they did do something similar last year with their own pop-up store during the anniversary period as well, but just something feels very different about seeing all of it for a 2nd year in a row. And also the fact that due to the fact that there's more characters in the game now, you kind of do have a lot more variety in all the posters and banners set up, which for me just ended up being a lot more cool as well. The campaign is also very simple. It's essentially a case of just spend 500 yen at a participating store, and for each 500 yen spent, you get a collectible card, which pretty much all of these stores that weren't already tied to a specific anime or series were participating stores, so it's relatively easy. For me, I just went out to the bookstore and bought some collectible Persona 3 magazine, and that was already 4,000 yen, so it actually made collecting the cards very simple, for those of you who are wondering. Haha! Yeah, it was actually really tough to balance it in there, but these are the 5 cards that I got. For some reason though, in spite of the fact that I have quite a few cards, like I do have a lot of dupes over there, like maybe more than 10, but in spite of that, I only really have 1 of Hina. Like I don't know how horrible my luck had to be to only get 1 of her, since like I'm pretty sure that they actually put it out of a stack. So for some reason, me not getting 2 for the 4,000 yen item was pretty weird, but yeah, aside from her, I did get a bunch of dupes for everyone else. And you also do have this one card here with all 4 of them on it, although not in the Valentine's outfit like everyone else in the rest of this card. So I guess it kind of works out a little, though I really wish I had more of this one as well. Though funnily enough, you don't actually get this card when you purchase from the pop-up store for Blue Archive itself. I don't know why they decided to do that. Maybe it's some way to like try to get people to spend more at the mall overall as well, but it just struck me as a little weird that for some reason the pop-up store itself just didn't give this card as well. The pop-up store was located on the upper floor of the mall along the standees for all 4 of them, both in their Valentine's outfits and the normal version as well, with the Hina one just being massive for the normal version of a standee. And the 4 Valentine's one really looked pretty cute as well, so it was pretty nice to see that they actually had that set up. Plus, they also displayed all of the goods that were being sold in the pop-up store, although on the outside in a way that looks very nicely decorated as well, so that looked pretty fancy. That said, the queue for the pop-up store was really quite insane, to be honest. Like, so the first 4 days were basically a balloting system where you had to ballot to get in. Unfortunately, I didn't manage to. And on the first open day after I actually went down, the moment the store opened, like the moment, right, the entire mall opened and you could just like go up to the floor, look around for what's going on and try and queue there. I got there and there was a person with a signboard there, which was basically being used to give you a ticketed number so that you can just go away and come back when your time comes. And you will basically scan it and use it to go online. No, not go online, like onto the interwebs or something. No, I mean online as in the application called Line. It's a little confusing since people don't use this as much outside of Japan, I guess, but it's pretty much like the WhatsApp or Telegram for Japan, as this is what's more commonly used, except that unlike Telegram, you actually have to pay for your stamps instead. You can't really just like upload your whatever image you want and just have it as a free stamp that you can use whenever you want. You know, capitalism, baby! So I got in first thing in the morning, the moment the mall opened up, and you know what? I was 385th in the queue. Yeah, there were that many people to the point that the moment I got in and scanned that thing, there were already like more than 300 plus people in front of me. And that was apparently enough for me to not be able to purchase some stuff because some stuff had already gone out of stock. And mind you, even though I was 385th, I still entered about 2.5 hours after the mall opened, so that was quite unfortunate. There was some stuff I wanted to grab both for myself and others that were just simply out of stock at that point. But yeah, being the big brain 350 IQ person that I am, in order to ensure that I didn't waste my time in the meantime while waiting for the pop-up store for my turn, I decided to go to the Manekineko Collab, which was also running at the time. Not this room though, of course. The room that I'm in now, you actually have to book in advance, and we'll talk more about that later on. But I went to the normal karaoke collab and just decided to like get drinks or 2 so I could get some of the collectible cards as well in the meantime. So as you can see, efficient use of time, unlike what I usually do on a normal basis where it does feel like I'm wasting a lot of my time. But hey, at least on that day it was efficient and that felt really good in comparison. But yeah, even then the pop store did have a lot of stuff, like they did have a soft plushy version of Hina's float as well as badges for the prefect team. As well as if you wanted a foldable chair, which I guess you could actually bring the comic cat and use it. They also had a t-shirt with Hina's school swimsuit printed on it for you very, very refined gentlemen out there. I don't think I'll be able to wear that anywhere out in Japan since people probably know what that's meant to be and it would look super awkward. But maybe for people overseas, it might be something you could probably wear out. Let it be a funny and still have it be fine. Next up, we have the Animate Cafe store, and this one happened after the Atre one, and a lot like the one in Atre, they did use a similar queuing system using a line as well. The big difference is that with Animate, they actually did it in a way that was a lot more convenient, to be honest. Instead of you having to go down to the side and see the person at the board and fiddle with a phone trying to get a QR code that won't read, for Animate, they instead had it online. So really all you had to do was go to their website and click a link on the page, and the link would basically redirect you to a line page on the interweb. I'm not going to say line twice in a row. And so from there, you would then be able to access the page from which you could ballot for the ticket, which would begin at 7:30 AM of the day itself. Yeah, and so, mate, I like to play games, right? I'm a guy in the game industry, you know, a bit of gamer myself, and because of that, sometimes I do sleep a little late. You know, work days are already busy enough to balance gaming and working means I have to deprive myself of sleep. Weekends, I kind of want to rest, and you know, having to wake up at 7:30 a.m. for a ballot was a little bit of a I would rather not do it sort of thing, but I did do it in the end anyways, because that said, I did actually butterfinger during the period itself, so instead of completing the ballot at 7:30, I completed it at 7:31. And you want to guess what that meant? It meant that I was 394th in the line instead. We're very close to the previous number if you think about it, and that's quite a coincidence, but yeah, pretty rough that like just a 1 minute difference caused me to be pushed that far back in the line, but at the very least the page didn't go down and cause me even more sleep deprivation, so at least it had that going for it. As compared to how they ran the Animate Collab last year as well, it was a lot better to be honest. Like last year you pretty much had to run up to the building's fifth floor the moment the store opened up, grab a numbered ticket, and then despair over the fact that despite the fact that you got in super early, your timing was still for like 6 to 7 p.m. at night instead. So I think mine came at about 2 p.m. thereabouts, so quite a while later as compared to the Atre one, but overall at least I got to expend that time in the like peacefulness of my own home. The store itself was a lot bigger as well. Last year, if I recall, it only took up one floor, which was the 6th floor, for a store and display being merged together into one. This year they basically had the store and the display separated into 2 separate floors, so they had the 7th floor for displays and the 6th floor for the store, if I'm not mistaken, which ended up making it a lot cooler since they could do a little more elaborate stuff with the displays. I mean, unfortunately they didn't have a model gun like they did have the physical Noah gun there last year, but they did have a little fancy like dinner party looking area for the Justice Task Force since the event itself was supposed to be based off of them. I'm seeing a trend here of it being based off the people who regulate peace in each of the schools. Yes, it's probably just a coincidence. Like, it was pretty cool seeing the fancy dinner party area that the entire pop-up store's design was supposed to be based off of, just being represented in a small part of the 7th floor as well. Then you actually have full-size standees of all of the characters, which yeah, that really put into perspective for me how big Hasumi actually is. And I don't just mean in terms of plot, okay, I know that like everybody's really happy to see the plot, but in terms of like her actual height compared to everyone else, and even compared to me, it makes me feel very small in more ways than one, looking at her being that massive. But either way, it was really cool to see all of that in scale. They also did have the Momo talks in the background as well. Just like a giant one on the walls with all the characters talking to each other in the theme of the dinner party that's supposed to be ongoing as well. I think there were 2 of those overall. If you can read Japanese, it's just a little fun thing, as you actually had an order that you were supposed to go through the place, and if you read the 2 Momo talks in order, it kind of just like ties together a little bit of a small like sub-story for this. And aside from that, you also had a bit of a timeline of some of the recent events, so that if you're someone who has played since the start, you can feel even older about how like all of these events are so far from what you remember at the start during the like first few months where there were barely any events. Then they also had a mini section set aside for all of the different clubs within Trinity as well, where you just had like a frame with their pictures and the name of the clubs that they are in. And aside from that, they also had a well-wishing board to basically allow people to write their best wishes for the series as well. Overall, pretty cool to see that they actually managed to do that much more for the pop-up store's design and decorations this time around compared to last year. And it really felt like the addition of an additional floor really did help for that. As for the pop-up store itself, unfortunately this time I couldn't like slip this into my sleeve because as you can see, I think I would need to know like real magic to get this to work. But yeah, every 1,100 yen you spend, you would get a single card. I think there were like 15 variations, so getting everything would be really tough. Is it focusing? I think it's focusing. Right, like you have one of them in the party theme. 2, 3. Ooh, that almost fell there. 4. Yeah, I don't know why Hifumi and the rest were in it, but like for people who like them, it's great and all, but like it feels weird that the makeup work club is also getting cards in this as well, since they aren't really a part of the whole theme of the event. $10? Now I'm actually a little paranoid as to whether I do have all of them. Oh, okay. Yeah, it makes sense. 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. Yeah, I don't know why the order is a little messed up, but I guess something happened along the way that caused it to get shoved into a random order instead. But yeah, that's something to take note of if you want to go to one of the stores and collect all the cards in the future. Typically, the cards are randomized in the sense that they are stacked such that every single card down in the stack is one of the set of 15. So if you give one each person, basically you'll always be giving them a different one. But if a person were to buy 15 and you don't actually randomize the stack yourself, they are guaranteed to get a full set. Also, the stores seem to be a lot better stocked than last year. And I don't mean this in the sense that they were worried they couldn't sell out, so they started to allow people to buy more. Like day one, there was already no stock limit, and they had already started to send some of their stock over to gamers and other stores to sell there as well. So it would seem that they really did print a lot of excess to ensure that everyone could get the stuff they want. And I did go back to the store close to the tail end of the store as well to help someone else get something, and I did notice that everything was pretty much still in stock. I did buy 3 boxes of the randomized cards because while the stack is supposed to have one of every card, apparently every card has a hollow version as well, so I was thinking of maybe buying that and seeing how many we could get. Didn't want to buy too many, but we might be able to do that for a separate video. But yeah, with how well stocked the Animate pop-up store was, I feel like in the future, hopefully at least, even if they do hold another one of these, you don't really have to worry about missing it or having to rush on the first few days to get what you want, as it does seem like the stock is really not an issue for them at this point. Next up, the Animate Cafe. This one took place in both Ikebukuro in Tokyo as well as in Osaka at a location that I don't know too well because I don't live in Osaka. It was themed after the Gourmet Research Club as well as their favourite kidnapped victim and her sidekick, so you kind of had a very fitting theme in terms of the food for the cafe as well. Also, one thing to take note of was the fact that this collab was on reservation only, so you really needed to ensure that you reserved a spot. And this is the same for most anime collab cafes in general. If you don't reserve a spot, you actually may not be able to enter even if there's empty space inside. So you want to make sure that you go to the website for the cafe and book your space in the cafe for any other times you might want to visit it. In terms of the interior design, it wasn't too bad. We had the standees for the 4 Gourmet Research Club students as well as tapestries and posters up for them all around the floor. And on each individual table as well, they had different table covers with each of the different characters and the different variations. Apparently, when the store was empty enough, they actually let me pick which of the tables I wanted to sit at, but when the store was a lot fuller, they basically just sent you to one of the specific ones. You didn't really get a choice in terms of the table design, so a little unfortunate that I couldn't pick it every single time, but the goods themselves as well were all lined and decorated along the shelf, so it just added to the fanciness of it, since the goods weren't just placed there on their own, but they were placed there with a bunch of other little decorations like sequins and mini cages and all of that, and they just added to making the area look just a little bit fancier as well. They also had TVs that were essentially just running the 3rd and 4th PV, I think, specifically just those two on loop as well, which really did add to the vibes as well, since the 4th PV, it really was a banger, so seeing that every other few minutes may have been a little much, but it wasn't very intrusive in the sense that the volume wasn't super high. It was just right enough for you to have it in the background while you eat. Though that said, the Tokyo location did look kind of unfortunately more bare bones than Osaka. This is not an issue with the way they ran the Blue Archive one, but just the Animate Collab in general. Rosio actually went to the Osaka cafe and he actually sent me a bunch of pictures from it. And it's you actually had a fine looking cafe, properly decorated and all that. Meanwhile, the Tokyo one was actually missing ceiling panels and it actually made it look a little more scarred as a result. I mean, come on. I know everything is more expensive in Tokyo, right? From what I heard, the company I'm working in, they have a mini branch in Osaka, and the Osaka branch, because of the fact that everything is cheaper, they have branded furniture, they have a much bigger office, and we get shit because everything in Tokyo is more expensive. But even then, come on, anime. I'm sure you could afford like ceiling panels at least. For the food itself, I would separate it into the different categories because of the fact that the reason why I want to separate it is because I find that like when it comes to the main dishes were very, very mid in comparison, but the desserts were fine and the drinks were quite enjoyable. So I want to separate them and talk about them this way so that I'm not gonna like shit on all of it. It will make it a little easier to understand where I'm coming from with the different foods, I guess. So when it comes to the main dishes, I only really managed to try 2 of the 4 because one was out of stock and I couldn't eat 3 main dishes in one day. I tried the green soup, which initially when I saw green soup, I was like, oh, so it's gonna be like green tom yum or something. I was like, yeah, this is gonna be cool, you know, get to eat tom yum or something. That sounds like a bit interesting. Then it just turns out that no, it was just like udon with a lot of vegetables thrown in. So it looked green, but it just tasted like normal udon, so that was pretty neat. They had ramen as well, but the ramen tasted very mid. Like, I don't think I've tasted ramen that mid of any store that charged more than 500 yen for ramen, to be honest. Though that said, it did say in the name that it was instant ramen. I don't know if that's actually true, but if it is, I guess it kind of makes sense why it tasted that mid in the end. The desserts, on the other hand, were quite enjoyable. There was a huge variety. You had everything from like Japanese anmitsu, which the anmitsu itself was actually really good, to be honest. I was surprised by the level to which they actually managed to do it. Then you had everything from that all the way down to like fruit sandwiches as well. The fruit sandwiches were also quite enjoyable. And you also had yeah, that's right. They actually sold Juri's Eldritch creation there, which, you know, I didn't think a day would come in my life where I would actually be paying money to consume an Eldritch horror, but yeah, then we were on that day. And I have to say, it actually tasted pretty good, to be honest. I'm not going insane or anything, alright? I stared into the pancake and thankfully the pancake did not stare back. But yeah, for the most part, the ingredients for it were pretty simple-ish, I guess. The coating of sauce on the top was basically yam and there was a lot of fruits and lime inside. So overall, you know, you can't go wrong with fruits in Japan especially, so it did taste pretty good. I would give it a 10 out of 10. Would want to consume a Hound of Tinderloss next time as well. The drinks as well were pretty good. They had a very big variety for those. You had everything from tea with dango, which the dango looks a lot like the ones that Junko constantly drops and then goes into a depression over, all the way down to cold soda-ish drinks, which some of it was actually out of stock, especially the lighter drinks, due to the fact that apparently a lot of people were purchasing those specifically so that they could like purchase more stuff in the cafe, so they could get their hands on more of the collectibles as well. Though one thing that I felt was a bit of I mean, this is not much of a complaint, more so just an sort of thing. It's just the fact that for most of the foods and drinks, they actually look pretty plain and normal, and it was just you having the names of the characters basically tied to it and being told like this is like Akari's favorite drink or something like that, even though it doesn't really exactly have much link to the overall like character theme and story instead. I mean, with the dango, it kind of made sense. With Juri's wonderful thing, it kind of makes sense. But for everything else, it looked pretty normal. So while it did taste good and looked somewhat fancy for some of it did feel like it didn't fit the theme as much as the food that was being sold at the Blue Archive Fest, but then again, it was made by Animate instead, so maybe they didn't have as much control. When it came to the coastals that you could get, there was a pretty fair variety as well. Like you had the chibi versions of most of the characters. I don't think there was one for Fuka in spite of the fact that there's one for Juri, so that's a little weird. I think I'm missing some of them. I might have forgotten to bring them along today for this video. If I still have them at home, I'll probably do a re-record of this so that I can add those in. But yeah, you do have a pretty fair variety of it, which made it actually a little weird due to the fact that it would be really difficult to collect these, especially as compared to most of the other collabs. Like with the rest, it kind of did make sense at points due to the fact that if you really wanted to collect all of it, you just had to buy a huge stack of items and just give you like a chunk of 15. But with this, they only give it to you whenever the food arrives. So even if you order like say 50 food items, for example, if the items always arrive in sets of 2, there's a very real possibility that you might just not get a full set even then, due to the fact that everything will actually be randomized with this one compared to the rest. Lastly, the karaoke. Okay, it's a little tough because like there's actually a table. You can't really see it, but there's actually a table in the middle here. It's actually closer to this side than to that side. So whenever I'm on this side, I kind of like shuffle a little in order to get in. But yeah, lastly, the karaoke, which is the one that we're in right now. This one's a little tough because on the one hand, as a karaoke, I really enjoyed the experience. But as a collab, I found it to be really lacking instead, due to the fact that, okay, so like there's been 3 karaoke collabs till now, including this one, right? Yeah, the one at Pasela, Joy Sound, and this one at Manekineko. The Pasela one, in terms of the collab aspect of it, was really good, due to the fact that they really had a lot of like variety in the snacks and the drinks, and they really did theme it a lot better to the series. Like they had the Choco Mint for Irie, you really had like the club's mascot attached to the waffle on the foods at times. With the Joy Sound one, you had a very big variety of drinks, but the drinks all look really plain and normal. It's just that in terms of the colours and the taste of the drink, they tried to kind of tie it to the characters. And with the Manekineko one, you only really had like 2 drink varieties, like the blue one I was drinking at the start of the video, and this one. That was all you get, and they just came in like plastic blue archive cups instead. So yeah, there isn't as much going for it in terms of that. So as a collab, it feels pretty mid. I mean, the collab room feels great, it looks really cool. Pasela didn't have a collab room. Joy Sound did have one though, and it also looked a lot like this. It was actually pretty nice as well. So it's hard to say that this one, which feels like it does the least overall, is the most interesting one. But even then, in terms of the collab room, it's pretty enjoyable. In terms of the collectible cards as well, they do give out more than the other collabs, and they also did give out a special postcard for actually going to the collab room specifically. So it makes it feel very limited and very cool that they actually have this, and I think they have another variety of the game development club as well for the collab postcard as well. But unfortunately, I didn't really manage to book it since the one in Tokyo was booked out all the way. So they come all the way to Osaka just for this one as it is. So yeah, it was a little tough deciding on how best to rank it, because as a karaoke, I like Manekineko more than the other 2, because I don't like the Joy Sound system itself, to be honest, to begin with. Like more often than not, the normal like key that they play the music at is very MIDI-ish at times, and sometimes it throws me off, especially when it comes to like metal or like visual kei stuff. When it comes to those, it does tend to sound a little off as a result. And also they tend to miss out a lot of the songs I like. Pasela uses a custom system, which also misses out some songs, but overall it's a more enjoyable experience. And in terms of the karaoke experience, Manekineko has both the DAM system and the Joy Sound one, so you can tend to just use the DAM one instead, which I personally prefer a lot more. So in terms of just these 3, as the karaoke, I would rank it as like Manekineko on top, Pasela, and then Joy Sound. But as a collab, I'll probably rank Manekineko at the bottom, Pasela at the top. Okay, that's not me. And Joy Sound in the middle. Joy Sound and Manekineko both had that, but on top of that, they also had good sales. With Manekineko, the good sales is probably the biggest, with the acrylic stands and all of the different collectible keychains of the different like random blind bag variety as well. And so you really had a lot of things that you could purchase as like goods for the characters if you really like them. Though as a collab, I guess that's a large part of where their focus went instead, as in terms of the actual like drinks and stuff, it was a lot more mid as compared to the other 2 collabs in the past. So I guess in a way, it's more like a pop-up store than a full-on collab, since it's more of a pop-up store plus a karaoke collab, rather than a karaoke collab plus a pop-up store instead. So maybe it's just a difference in the direction, hence why it feels very different. But yeah, I don't know. Maybe it's not as bad as I think it is as a result. The collab cards actually look like mini Polaroids, which is actually quite cute since it actually has a separate background from the ones on the posters in the back. You also have the chibi ones that look like this, which are pretty cute as well. Overall, I don't think I managed to get all of it, because I remember there being like maybe 15 or 16 varieties of it, but with this karaoke collab, it's pretty hard to collect all of it due to the fact that the only drinks they have are all fizzy drinks, so every time I come, I can only like drink 1 or 2 of it before I feel really full. So as a result, I just don't have as many of them overall. But yeah, they're pretty cute, and I'm quite fortunate to not have gotten any dupes as well. Lastly, there's the Akiba Revitalisation campaign as well, but this time around it was really, really mid compared to last year, where last year you had the whole like scavenger hunt, plus you had all the different stores around the area, which each basically allowed you to get collectible cards depending on how much you purchased there as well. Like even the model gun, the airsoft shop had something there. So there was a very big variety of a lot of stuff going on that you could do in terms of activities as well as like to try out as well while also collecting all of the cards. So it was pretty fun. This year there really wasn't much going on in terms of a specific campaign. They did have one where if you went to specific stores and spent X amount, you would get a single postcard, and there wasn't much variety compared to last year. There's just that one card. And if you spend like on specific electronics, and I mean like refrigerators and air conditioners and the like, you will be put in a lucky draw to win real money, which I guess it fits the whole gacha gambling aspect of it. But in terms of like a fun activity that you can do and enjoy and explore Akihabara with, it really just did not have that going for it. So this is the reason why I say it was more of a 0.5, because you really don't just get as much of it at all. But yeah, overall, this is all the stuff that had happened this year for all of the pop-up stores as well as campaigns that have been running during the period of the post-Blue Archive anniversary. Like I mentioned at the start, it really did feel like there just wasn't as much going on this year. So it did feel a little bit less interesting, but it did feel like they put a lot more of that budget into the fest. So I'm a little more okay with just being like, yeah, that's fine. It's a little unfortunate for... Hi. Okay, yeah, I don't have that much time left in the room, it would seem. I want you to go soon, but yeah, it felt like the level to which they held the anniversary this year, the festival itself, was very unexpected to the point that I don't think anyone anticipated it, not even the people who were holding the Dojin event that accidentally clashed with it on Saturday as a result. Hopefully they keep it more consistent next year so that people will be able to plan better rather than, especially since like if they keep the anniversary fest at that level and this at this level, I mean, it feels a little lonely that they don't do like the scavenger hunt thing anymore. It felt very grassroots and fun, and I personally did enjoy it a lot. But yeah, that's all I have for you guys today. I do have like some spares for some of the stuff though. I don't have much time left. I will quickly show off what I have that I can give away. But that said, this time around I'm going to do the giveaway a little differently. I'm not going to like give it away first come first serve. I'm going to put a Google Doc in the description and comments down below. Just go into one or the other. And from there click into it and just tell me what item you want the most and what item you want second and third. Then if basically I'll do a ballot for the items after a week has passed. So we will let it run for a week, I'll close it off. And then after that I will like run a ballot and see who to give what to. So that way there's a lot more time for everyone to get the stuff. Because I really did feel quite bad that because I made it first come first serve the last time, many people just could not even participate as well. So we'll try to do it this way, maybe a bit better. But yeah, in terms of what stuff I have spare, I do have a bunch of the Atre cards. I have 2 of them in the Valentine's outfits with all 4 of them on it, and 2 with them in their normal outfits as well. I have 2 spare for Chinatsu, 2 for Ako, and 3 for Feet Fetish Iori. In terms of the coasters, I have 2 spare of the normal looking Haruna, 1 for the Chibi Haruna, 1 for Chibi Junko, 1 for Izumi, and 1 for Juri. I may have more. I'll probably have to show those at home when I get home since I don't think I have them here.
What's up? It's me from the future here. Yeah, so apparently I actually ran out of time during the karaoke, so I couldn't complete the entire video there. The only part I was really missing was the giveaway for all of the cards from the Animate pop-up store, since really for the karaoke I just didn't manage to purchase enough to get dupes, so I don't really have dupes for that. But for the pop-up store for Animate, at least I do have 10 cards here. Hold on for me for a second. Could you at least pass them to me properly? Don't worry, it just fell onto my bed out of Pero's hand, so it's mostly still safe. But yeah, for the 10 that I do have spares of, I have 1 for the 4 of them with the party theme, 1 each for their just normal outfits and poses. For all 4 of the members, I mean, there's technically 5, but Koharu is kind of different, you know. She'd just be built different in many ways than 1, so. Speaking of which, I do have all 4 of the Makeup Work Club as well. So Hifumi, Koharu, Hanako, and Azusa. As well as 1 for Reisa as well. Yeah, I still don't know why Reisa and Suzumi of all people are like involved in this. I mean, it's kind of funny and cute, so it's kind of fine, but yeah, those are the 10 that I have. I'm not gonna give them out as a set, just like one copy each, and then if there's spares, I'll give out the spares accordingly, so do let me know which ones you guys want as well for these. Anyway, back to you.
But yeah, that's all for me for today. Thank you all for watching. If you enjoyed this video, do feel free to like and subscribe. Not every video is like this. Sometimes I talk about other stuff as well, such as the game industry in Japan, as well as sometimes about just like very shitty Japanese games as well. So if you're interested in any of that, if you hit the subscribe and bell button, you'll be notified whenever I make videos related to those as well. Thank you to Ran Yakumo, Rosio, Nick Green, as well as Kari for the monetary support for the channel. It really does go a long way towards helping me do more weird shit like this when I actually go down to the location, even though it might be a little more on the expensive side, and it helps to pay for all the stuff that I need to make videos as well. I'm still thinking of adding more content to Patreon since there's still nothing there yet, like all the outtakes with console game videos especially, so you can look forward to that. But that said, I'm running out of time here, so I'll be heading off now. But until next time, take care and bye.